So, I've finally gotten around to doing the 2,000 sub special, and it only took me about 3 months. I'm planning on having that 3,000 sub special that I teased like 2 months ago as the 5,000 sub special, because I don't really want to have them back to back, so look forward to that in the future. I know the channel has long since surpassed the milestone, but I'd still like to thank those who've subscribed to my channel and watch my videos. I really do appreciate it. I'm still putting along at my own pace, so this channel does have some life in it. Hopefully I'll be able to get more videos out in the future, but that would require me, a writer, and an editor all doing full-time to get these out, and I frankly don't have the money to hire other people. In the meantime, please continue to enjoy these videos. Also, there's spoilers for Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six games, book, and the event itself, so consider yourself warned. The Operation Originium Dust collab event summary will follow roughly the same formula as the previous Dead or Alive, Valhalla, and Gridman collab summaries did. Next to each of the parts and topics, there is a timestamp for that particular part of the video, as well as parts being divvied up by YouTube's chapter system. Anyway, the 4 parts of this collab summary are divided into 1. A background on Rainbow Six and the Rainbow Six Siege series. 2. A summary of the Originium Dust story. 3. Profiles of the operators Ash, Blitz, Frost, and Tachanka. And 4. My overall opinion on the collab event as a whole. And let me tell you, I have a few choice words, especially for the final boss of this event. The Rainbow Six series began with Tom Clancy's novel, Rainbow Six, which was released on the 3rd of August, 1998. The novel follows John Clark, a CIA operative and recurring character in Clancy's novels, who forms the top-secret international counterterrorism organization, Rainbow, with their main task being to combat former state-sponsored terrorist groups who went their own way after the end of the Cold War. Based in Hereford, England, the at-the-time base of the Special Air Service, SAS, Rainbow consisted of 2 squad-sized teams of elite Special Forces members from the SAS, Navy SEALs, CIA, Delta Force, DGSE, and GSG-9 from NATO countries, who were supported by experts from the FBI, MI6, and Mossad. The novel follows Rainbow as they rescue hostages in Switzerland, Austria, and Spain, which are a part of a plan called the Project, led by Dr. John Breitling, a radical environmentalist who heads a biotech firm called the Horizon Corporation, with the plan being to wipe out most of humanity. Shiva, a man-made Ebola virus, would be released through the fog cooling system of Stadium Australia at the 2000 Olympic Games. This, along with a slower-acting Shiva disguised as a vaccine, would kill most of the world's population. Eventually, Horizon and Breitling are taken down and left to die in the Amazon jungle, where their secondary base is, saving humanity from their bioterrorism. Since 1998, there have been multiple games and expansion packs that follow Team Rainbow and Rainbow Six, such as the original Rainbow Six in 1998, Rogue Spear, Raven Shield, Black Arrow, Lockdown, Critical Hour, Vegas and Vegas 2, Siege, which the event is based on, and Extraction. Most of the single-player games focus around the original Rainbow team from the books, and follow either John Clark or Domingo Chavez as they stop some sort of international terrorism from doing something bad. Rainbow Six Siege, on the other hand, while it does have some semblance of a story, is mainly focused on multiplayer. The story that is within the game is that Rainbow is reactivated after years of deactivation to combat the White Mass, a terrorist group which releases chemical attacks, namely at Bartlett University. There's now a new plot story, but I honestly find it dumb and it doesn't really make any sense. Like, there's a new Rainbow director, and now they're working with a PMC, and they're splitting the Rainbow ops up into groups. I don't know, it's a mess. Regardless, the multiplayer aspect has players either play as attackers or defenders, with either hostage rescue, secure the area, or defuse the bomb being the main gameplay modes. Each operator has their own unique gadget, which, in my opinion, have gotten more ridiculous over the years, as they start with breaching hammers and armor plates, but are now on turrets that can heal you and drones that pretend to be you. To list the different counterterrorism organizations that make up the attackers and defenders, there's SAS, FBI SWAT, GIGN, Spetsnaz, GSG-9, JTF-2, Navy SEALs, BOPE, SAT, GEO, SDU, GROM, 707th SMB, CBRN, GIS, GSUTR, GIGR, SASR, Jaeger Corps, Secret Service, APCA, FES, a PMC, ITF, SFG, AFEAU, and COT. The event begins in the Ural Mountains of Russia, with Eliza Ash Cohen being walked through an underground bunker, Magnet Hill No. 2, as she's talking to Elizabeta Ella Bozak. As they're talking, an explosion occurs on Ella's side, with Ella fighting alongside Ninke Iana Major, before Ella ends the call. Later, Ash meets up with Elias Blitz Kotz, Tina Frost Lin Song, and Alexander Tachanka Sanaviv. As Ash tells them what happened, Blitz believes they'll be fine, with Ash telling him to keep standing guard. The team is looking for nuclear waste sealed inside the building they're in, with Frost saying that they have to go through a checkpoint and storage room to get to the main lab. Mercs have set up some simple fortifications at and around the checkpoint, mainly consisting of barbed wire, with 9 mercs in total being spotted by the drones. Ash asks Tachanka to use 2 of his incendiary rounds, with her plan being to blast their way in, take care of obstacles, and flashbang to stun enemies. The team breaches and easily takes care of all the hostiles. The team continues through the building, with Tachanka spotting black crystals on petri dishes, as well as glowing mineral crystals in cans, with Blitz's Geiger counter not reacting to them whatsoever. Iana finally contacts Ash, telling her that she's taking care of the enemy, but the way is blocked and she'll have to find another way around. Ash tells her to hurry up as she needs her support ASAP. The team continues on to the lab, where they slowly enter to find no one is there, but the machines still are active. Levi Klitschko, the target of Rainbow Six, reveals himself. Ash tells Levi to move away from the terminal, but he doesn't listen and approaches the terminal anyway, with Ash getting Blitz to restrain him. But it's too late. Levi has already activated the main reactors, which causes the black rocks to glow. It cannot be stopped now, with Levi monologuing about how people kept getting in his way, but 20 years of work is now complete. The reactor emits a bright light that blinds everyone, before cutting to Ella and Iana. When the two arrive at the lab, all there is a large hole where it was supposed to be. Ash slowly regains consciousness due to the commotion, waking up to a desert and her teammates surrounding her. The others explain that after Levi activated his device, the lab was swept by a shockwave and brought them to an unknown location. Radios and compasses don't work, almost as if the lab teleported them to an unknown world. As they're talking, metal crabs begin approaching their position, with one of them breaking through Blitz's shield. Tachanka manages to harm one of them with AP ammo and tells the others. Ash and Tachanka are able to take them down with a combination of Ash's breaching round and the AP bullets. The team begins to prepare for the worst and get moving, as they realize they're not on Earth anymore. Elsewhere in the desert, Schwartz returns to Rangers, Liskarm, and Franca after she scouts the area, seeing that there's nothing within a 30-kilometer range. Rangers says if they keep going north, they should see a waypoint, and will be able to rest for a bit before continuing west to Fekon, which has an RI branch office that can secure transportation for them, with Franca being elated about not having to walk much more. Liskarm still can't find any linkable signal nodes, and most likely won't be able to until they reach Fekon. The 4 of them talk about Ranger's past, how he obtained the Ranger of the Red Valley title, among others, and his exploits, whether they're true or not, before moving out. The group eventually reaches Sargon territory before Ranger stops them after hearing a burrowing noise. A pack of sand bees appear from out under the ground where they were standing. The group gets ready to fight them. The group manages to defeat all the beasts unharmed, and begin discussing why the beasts were over 2 meters long or capable of digging holes. Schwartz sees that there's Originium crystals all over their body, with neither any nomadic cities or catastrophes possibly causing the mutations. As they're talking, the radio picks up an emergency RI rescue signal from Long Spring Watchtower 33, before the signal gets suddenly cut off. Rangers believes that 33 is a safe house that RI kept hidden, and that Long Spring is a village that's about 20 kilometers north. The group all agree that they should head for Long Spring, as the operator there may not last long enough without their help. Elsewhere, Levi and a man named Drudge are in a cave system, with both of them looking at what Drudge calls an ugly creature. Levi, on the other hand, sees the creature as an embodiment of evolution. Drudge doesn't care, he just wants Levi to solve practical problems for him, like getting his father disposed of with these experiments of his, as Levi promised Drudge a cruel and frightening army. Levi explains that scientific research takes time, but Drudge gives him only 2 more days. Because of this, Levi asks for corpses, specifically ones of the infected, with Dredge's Merc saying that it's against Lord Amir's great commandments, before Dredge begrudgingly agrees to get him corpses. Levi wanders further into the cave where the rest of his lab was transported, marveling at the power of Originium. Back with the Rainbow Six team, Ash records an operation log. She notes that it is the 184th day of the mission and the 27th day of them staying in a rundown house, while they still have no idea where they are. They were given directions by locals to another town, which turned out to be a bandit's den, though they did get a car from them. Tachanka tried to repair the car, but it's completely different from the ones on Earth. The bandits they fought had lizard tails and were able to throw 10-kilogram javelins 10 meters away, with others being able to launch fireballs. Today is the last day of recording, as the recorder is almost full. How will they get home? Ash walks over to where Tachanka is, where he's spending time with an Originium slug he adopted as a pet. Ash says he should be keeping guard, but Tachanka says there's nothing to guard from. The infected are afraid of them, and the townsfolk that are a kilometer away never come. Ash asks where Frost and Blitz are, with Tachanka saying that they managed to trade with the infected, with Frost now being out hunting and Blitz going into town to find a mechanic for the car, finishing off with telling Ash to relax. Ash personally doesn't like how Blitz is getting close to the locals, with Ash not liking how the local lord stays in his manor all day with his private army, and how the infected are forced to stay in infected zones, with these zones being areas of discrimination and are wall-less prisons. Ash questions why they haven't risen up against the Lord yet. Tachanka doesn't know either, but does know that they're the reason they can still survive due to the supplies they've traded, mentioning a Dr. Miyaro. As he's speaking, Miyaro knocks on the door and Tachanka welcomes him in. Miyaro has come to deliver medical supplies, saying that the slugs Frost caught were able to provide enough painkillers for the next few months. Tachanka asks if these slugs can cure diseases, with the doctor explaining that oropathy, at the moment, is incurable, but the fluids of the slugs can ease the pain. The dog hands Tachanka an Ursa's book that he asked for earlier, with Tachanka saying that the language looks like Cyrillic at a glance, but there's more differences upon further inspection. The dog comments how the R6 members are speaking Victorian, and the area they're in, Sargon, has many different dialects. Tachanka asks what kind of place Ursus is, with the doc explaining how it's far north and ruled by a czar. Recently, the doc explains, the Lord's men have been patrolling around the infected zone for the past week, with monsters appearing and attacking people in town. Because of this, the R6 members should stay in hiding and hide their car. Just then, Frost barges in and reports that a group of armed townsfolk are blocking the road to the infected zone, and demanding someone be handed over, with the infected townsfolk confronting them. Ash asks about Blitz, with Frost saying that he hasn't returned yet. They make preparations and head over to where the confrontation is. The crowd is arguing about handing over a suspicious person, before Blitz runs over and tries to calm the situation down. The infected are worried as they ask him to hide, with the non-infected asking who he is and where he's from due to his accent. Blitz claims he's a merchant, but the townsfolk want to bring him to the Lord, as well as bring his supposed accomplices. Dr. Miyaro finally arrives and manages to calm things down further, asking if the townsfolk plan to go against Lord Tula's will. Sadly, none of the non-infected are having it. Ash, Frost, and Tachanka are ways back and observing, when Frost sees some big townsfolk with large things wrapped in cloth. Tachanka recognizes the wrapped objects as swords, with Ash running towards where the crowd is. The disguised Sarkaz Merc reveals himself and strikes at Miyaro, narrowly missing him, with Blitz retaliating with his handgun. Ash engages the mercs as well, with Tachanka providing covering fire. After the battle, Miyaro takes care of the wounded while the R6 members attempt to cover for him. They slowly become overrun, with Ash getting the doc out of there and retreats to the clinic. They manage to rescue all 40 people, with Ash wondering why the monsters came out when the mercs drew their weapons. Tachanka looks outside and reports that everything is a mess out there, with sounds of combat being everywhere. Frost says that they need to leave the clinic since it's so run down, with Miro knowing a place they can go on the south side of town. The house is owned by Rhodes Island, and is possibly the safest place in town outside of the Lord's mansion. Ash is weary of this organization, but Tachanka says they should go unless someone else has a better idea. Ash takes the doc and Blitz to go to the safe house. As they arrive at the safe house, they notice that the door has been smashed in, and a cry comes out from a watchman, Okfin. The trio enter the safe house, with Okfin questioning who they are. Ok begs for his life, being calmed by Ash, saying they're there to help. As the doc attends to Ok, no pun intended, Ash and Blitz take a look around, seeing that the safe house has been completely ransacked, with a radio they see being powered by those little black crystals. Blitz tries to joke that they're the mercs' backup, alluding to a hidden basement, before being told to knock it off by Ash. The doc asks Ok to open up the safe house to the infected, but there's no one else to protect them. Ok is apprehensive, but eventually lets them in. Back in the caves, Drudge receives a report about the R6 squad, who they believe to be mercs. The merc on the other end of the line doesn't believe that they're Sancta despite the guns, and that they have no idea who they are. Drudge asks how his father is doing, with the merc explaining that his people are tough, especially Drudge's little sister, but Levi's monsters are doing good work. Drudge says to keep watching the manor, as he has a contingency plan, but he needs time to put it together. Drudge heads over to Levi's lab, saying he's expecting more progress from Levi. Levi asks why Drudge needs more monsters, asking a series of questions about if they're dead, what are arts, and so on, before being told to shut up by Drudge. Levi tells Drudge that these monsters, the Originutants, have a lifespan of roughly a week, and they only live that long because Drudge is impatient. Drudge is expectedly displeased with Levi challenging him to solve the genetic issues if he cares that much about them. Elsewhere, the RI squad is overlooking the village, with Schwartz reporting from her scouting that there's constant fighting around the mansion in the north, infected sand beasts scurrying around, and that it's been like that for about 2 days. She also found the safe house, but said that it's not RI's people guarding it, with guns, and are unable to tell who they're allied to. Rangers and the rest head into town, hoping they can be reasoned with. At the safe house, Frost and Tachanka are examining a Terran circuit board, with neither being able to figure out how it works, as it's completely different from what they're used to. Frost says that all the tech in the world is powered and based on Originium, with Ok saying that the technology behind it is complex, as well as the distress signal possibly not getting through. Ok mentions that RI's main business is treating the infected, though the safe house they're in is for supplying combat operators. The R6 squad inspects the weapons in the safe house, noticing that they're different from their own, lacking propellant that usual bullets have. Ok asks if they're not arts users, how do they use guns? The topic shifts to where the R6 ops are from, with the group giving the vague answer of a place far away that doesn't have oropathy. Og hardly believes it, before he's interrupted by gunfire. Tachanka reports that he just took down the first wave of mercs, and the rest have them surrounded. The team fights off waves of mercs, covering for each other, with mutants coming in the fight as well. The RI group watches them and notices that they're surrounded. Rangers tells the rest to prepare for battle, as they head in to assist the group guarding the safe house. The RI group manages to push back the Sarkaz mercs, before approaching the R6 squad, who are pointing their guns at them due to not knowing if they're friendly or not. Franco assures them that they mean no harm and are a RI field team. Blitz gets Ok, who's relieved to see that reinforcements have arrived. Ok fills the RI team in on what's happening, saying that the R6 team helped defend, his communicator was broken by mercs, and that there's 43 total infected in the safe house. The RI team question why the R6 op would protect the infected, as they're not infected themselves and aren't being paid. Liskarm comments that Black Steel R&D would go nuts if they heard about non-sancta merc groups with guns. Elsewhere, the R6 squad discusses RI. They find it strange that a pharma company is this well armed, believing it to both be a front and that the docs in this world are armed to the teeth. Miyaro explains as he's patching up Tachanka that RI specializes in care for the infected and oropathy research. Ock handed the doc a box of oropathy suppressants to give to the infected, even though the doc believes they're possibly very expensive. Rangers approaches the R6 team and says they will have RI give them remuneration in compensation for the supplies they use. Rangers ask what kind of mercs they are, with Blitz lying and saying they're the super expensive kind from beyond the Foe and Hotlands. Rangers accepts their lie and asks them to work together with his group. The RI group notices that the monsters are being controlled, with the mercs being equipped in Colombian gear. Rangers believes they're rebelling against the local lord, with their attacks on civilians being to round them up and kidnap them. Rangers suggests waiting until the situation changes and looks forward to working together with the R6 team. Later, the R6 team toys around with one of the large crossbows that a Sarkaz merc had, with the Rangers commenting that most Sarkaz can lock it bare-handed. Tachanka says that a crossbow with this much power, at 100 meters, would be no different than a gun, and that Liskarm would be about as strong as himself. Rangers ask why the sudden interest in the weapons, with Tachanka saying that without bullets, him and the rest of the R6 team would be useless, so he's looking for possible alternatives. Ash calls Tachanka over and shows him the bullets that Liskarm uses, called etch bullets, which are extremely expensive, and the propellant being made of crystal. Rangers explains that he was once told by a Laterano gunsmith that each etch bullet contains a mini casting unit that matches the structure of a Laterano gun, which makes the guns and bullets like casters' staffs. Tachanka asks Rangers if he's ever heard of a gun that doesn't need arts, which he hasn't. Ash wonders where Blitz is, and is told he's in the basement by Frost. She walks into seeing Franka, Blitz, and Liskarm trying to power the comm casting unit, with Liskarm using her electricity arts to power it. However, the comms doesn't seem to be connecting, possibly due to the crystal electronics unit being damaged. They return upstairs, and Tachanka asks if anyone can cast arts, which, realistically, Franka answers anyone can with enough training. Liskarm hands Blitz a modified version of his shield, which now runs on Originium arts, with Blitz being amazed at how the flash function still works. Frost returns to the safe house and reports that there haven't been any probing attacks since the last major one, and believes that it's the calm before the storm. Rangers reports that they're running out of food as well, with Ash and Frost planning to go out into the infected quarter to scrounge up some food. Ash, Frost, Schwartz, and Rangers head out to grab what supplies they can to feed themselves and the infected. Searching the old safe house, Ash finds minimal supplies, with them and the emergency store in the new safe house being able to last a week if they stretch it. Schwartz notices sounds of movement nearby, with there possibly being a dozen or so mercs. Ranger yells for everyone to run back to the safe house, with the pursuants chasing them down through the alleys. They make it back to the safe house, with everyone getting ready to attack. Schwartz notices that they're not mercs and are instead the Raporva soldiers, the local guards, having Rangers to get everyone to hold their fire. A woman named Pakale has her guard surround the structure, announcing her presence as Pakale Tula, the captain of the Long Spring Village Guard, demanding those in the safe house to drop their weapons and come out. Pakale believes they're mercs being paid by her brother, saying that she'll cut them down for everything they've done. Rangers attempts to negotiate with Pakale, saying he's a field op from RI, codenamed Rangers. Pakale doesn't care and calls them sanctimonious hypocrites, blaming them for the kidnapping of her father's peoples, robbing them of everything. Ash chimes in, saying that if they want to pillage the town, then why the hell would they still be there? Pakale asks who the hell she is, attempting to argue with her on her father's land. Ash says that she and her lord's men let the mercs raid the quarantine zone, with Ash and company having to save the infected themselves since the guardmen were nowhere to be seen. Miyaro joins in as well, saying that RI didn't rob the infected, and they were forced into the safe house by the riots. Pakale trusts the doc since many speak highly of him, but she doesn't trust the rest of them, as they're armed on her father's land without permission, but since they protected his subjects, she will pardon them. However, the contract with RI signed with the Lord is now null and void. Rangers ask her to reconsider, but Pakale states that Long Spring has no need for armed foreigners. The Lord's Guard counts the infected, which are all there, with Miro thanking the R6 ops for what they've done. Rangers gives the doc an Originium ingot as remuneration for Ock's leg. As the infected leave, Schwartz and Rangers feel like something's off. Schwartz believes that Picale may be behind it all, as taking everyone away legally with the Lord's Guard after the Mercs is too coincidental. Schwartz goes and tells the guard to see where they're going and what they plan to do with the infected. Elsewhere, Picale tells the guard to get all the civilians to shelter first, then she wants 3 of the civilians with her. Suddenly, an Originium breaks through one of the nearby walls, with Picale killing it as soon as it entered. Picale has the guard take the civilians upstairs as she fights off the other Originiums that are coming in. Miro warns about the Lord's Manor before being interrupted by an explosion coming from the manor. Picale says that she'll chop her brother Drudge's head off as Drudge appears before her. Picale realizes she's fallen into her brother's trap and falls unconscious after a blow from a boulder throw by her brother. Picale and Drudge talk within the manor, with Picale accusing Drudge of treason, with Drudge responding by talking about his new TSW-2 ultrasonic impact unit and Sarkaz Mercs, both from Columbia. Some Mercs return with an appointment letter from Lord Amir, with Drudge reading it and asking where the Lord of Longspring is. The Mercs couldn't find him, but Picale interrupts and claims that she's the Lord of Longspring now, saying that disobeying her is punishable by death. Drudge slaps her and taunts her, asking who will stop him now as the ex-lord is long dead and the guardsmen are also dead in an alley. They shouldn't have gotten in his way, Drudge claims, even if they treated him like one of his own. Drudge plans on killing Picale, present her corpse, and join the Zahidan. Schwartz, nearby, is eavesdropping in on their conversation. The siblings continue arguing before Drudge and his mercs bring the infected to Levi, dead or alive. Drudge orders Picale's execution, and before a Sarkaz merc can kill her, a crossbow bolt hits him from out of nowhere. Schwartz continues to fire bolts, killing one merc after another, with not even the casters and their Originiums being able to stop her. After they retreat, Schwartz swoops in and rescues Picale, with Picale vowing her revenge against her brother because she's the one who made him like this. Elsewhere, Ash and the other operators are scouting where the mercs retreated to, with Ash firing a breaching round into a nearby wall, with the rest breaching into the area where the mercs are. As they defeat the guard in the outer wall, the ultrasonic impact unit is fired up and creates a powerful shockwave. The group is stunned by the shockwave and ducks for cover before another shockwave is sent out. Originiums are sent out after them, with them overwhelming the rest of the squad. Miro is there for some reason and looks to be near death. Miro's oropathy flares up, and he realizes he's about to die. He's being brought to Levi by Drudge and the mercs. Drudge tells the mercs to make Picale an infected, as they also shepherd in the rest of the infected. Miro tells everyone to run as he pulls out the Originium ingot, and uses it as a catalyst to overload the ultrasonic emitter, causing it to explode and blind the nearby casters. With the casters down, and the emitter out of mission, and the Originiums going wild, the RI squad attacks. After the battle, the squad takes a head count and patches up the wounded, with Ash looking for Miro. Schwartz has already found him as he lays on the ground, blood gushing from his wounds with each cough, and the exposed skin covered in Originium. Ash attempts to help Miro, with Liskarm explaining that if you push yourself to use Originium arts, it worsens the infection, and even if they were on the RI landship, he probably wouldn't make it. Tachanka attempts to keep Miro conscious, reminding him about how he wanted to travel the world and go to Columbia, before Miro coughs his last breath. Angered by this, Tachanka goes over to a nearby captured merc and goes to throw a punch, before he's stopped by Blitz. Liskarm asks where Picale is, with Schwartz saying that Rangers is with her. The crystals on Miro's body start glowing, with Franka and Liskarm frantically searching for an empty room and some sort of sheet for the body. The R6 ops wonder what the commotion is about, and the RI ops block any and all openings in the room that they can, doors, windows, cracks, and chimneys. Ash and Blitz ask what they're doing, with Tachanka saying not to look. Ignoring his advice, Ash goes to see what's happening to the body, and witnesses as Miro's body begins slowly crumbling to dust from his wounds, before a light appears, then disappears, and the dust slowly settles as Miyaro's body is completely dissolved and returns to the earth that birthed him. An elderly infected prays over the newly made headstone of Dr. Miyaro, the grave being under a dead tree and the headstone inscripted with, quote, "Here lies our dear friend Miyaro. He was infected, he was a doctor, he was a good man." Tachanka goes to Ash's side, asking if she's okay, which she doesn't know. Tachanka mentions that rangers said only important people get funerals in Sargon, with most normal people just being buried in the wasteland, no tombstone or mourning. Those who live in nomadic cities cremate their dead and bury the ashes under the road since space is precious. Ash airs her regrets, asking what-if questions and pondering if they could have saved Miyaro. Tachanka believes it's not healthy to be enveloped in thoughts like that. It's not Ash's fault anyways, as Miyaro was quite sick. Tachanka remembers seeing burlap sacks the size of people being loaded into carts and brought outside of town, multiple times in the past weeks. R6 is not of this world, and they can't easily understand the cultures, people, and history of the locals. They helped the townsfolk, and they did everything they could that was within their power. Pakale approaches Ash and Tachanka, with Pakale blaming herself for what has happened. She uses her Originium arts to melt a gold seal, which was given along with the town of Long Spring as a reward to her father for his service to Lord Amir. The previous lord grew wealthy from the Originium mines, but that came with oropathy, so he shut down the mines after the Originium closest to the surface was mined out, creating the infected quarter so that they would be protected. However, the infection spread from the miners to everyone else. Drudge studied somewhere in Colombia, where he slowly turned more evil. The group that supports Drudge is a Colombian organization called Volvord Konchinsky, who only cares about digging more Originium out from the surface and doesn't care about the people living near it. Pakale says that Drudge ran off somewhere and the Merc group fell apart. For the time being, she needs to protect her home and her people, and she thanks Ash and Tachanka before leaving. Franca approaches after Pakale leaves and gives the two of them Dr. Miyaro's estate, which is just a box. Ash opens the box to find a map and a book. The book, according to Franca, is the Sargonian version of The Traveler's Guide to Urban Colombia, with the map being a map of Tachanka, a Colombian border city. There's a sack of Colombian gold certificates in the box, as Miyaro wanted to go to Colombia to become a doctor, and a note as well. The note reads, quote, "If you're reading this note, thank you for helping me deal with this stuff. Give the money to someone, I definitely don't need it anymore. Don't lose the box, it was my mother's. Although I don't know who you are, my friend, I still hope your life turns out okay. Signed, Miyaro." Tachanka believes that Miyaro shouldn't have lived or died like this, and goes to find Pakale, as he has a plan. Over in the caves where Drudge and his mercs have retreated to, Drudge plans a counterattack against Pakale and her guards, since they're already almost wiped out. He then asks where everyone is, as Levi appears before him, taunting Drudge for failing even with the Originutans. Drudge tells Levi to stop screwing with him, with Levi telling Drudge to be more polite. A merc goes to beat Levi before a pain goes off in his head, turning him into a zombie. More Originutans appear from behind Levi, to Drudge's horror. These zombies are all Drudge's men, all of which have been turned into more obedient soldiers by Levi. Drudge questions how Levi can control them, since he has no arts, with Levi rolling up his sleeve to show a swollen and twitching Originium lump under his arm. Drudge says that killing a noble in Lord Amir's land is a death sentence, but Levi doesn't care, as where he's from, the cardinals were burned, kings hanged, emperors beheaded, and every vestige of the old order was smashed, so no one would fear nobility again. Levi, as a self-proclaimed scientist, only seeks the truth, believing that science treats all people equally, and implies having Drudge's body donated to science so that he may be dissected. Drudge calls Levi a traitor, which is met with laughter, as Levi points out that it was Drudge who went against his sister, hired mercs to get his father's wealth, and betrayed the country that raised him. Drudge says that Levi will eventually be killed, but he doesn't care and says goodbye to Drudge. Back with the R6 and RI teams, Tachanka has found an old suit of armor in the Lord's house and is now wearing it. The plan that he came up with is using an Originium explosion to draw monsters out of the ground as they chase after the Originium shards, and by baiting the monsters out of the cave that houses the factory that produces them, Ash and the rest will have a chance to sneak around and blow the factory up. Tachanka turns on the engine, which draws out over 100 Originiums, and they all get ready for battle. Collab kills Originiums left and right, but their spawns are still a problem, even with Tachanka's minigun. As more and more come, they begin to retreat, with Rangers blowing up the Originium engine they used to lure in the Originiums, taking out most of them. But they're slowly still running out of ammo, with Tachanka covering the rest of the group as they continue retreating to shelter. Frost hands Tachanka an Originium bomb that she made as they continue retreating, telling Rangers, who's also staying behind, and Tachanka to stay alive. The two old veterans prepare to fight once again. At the entrance to the mine near Long Spring, Ash, Blitz, and Schwartz arrive and spot a zombie nearby. They take out the zombie and head into the mine. As they walk into the mine, they recognize that the rest of the Magnet Hill bunker had been transported into the empty mine. Schwartz is puzzled by the alien facility, but Ash and Blitz recognize it. As they walk through the bunker and the lab, Blitz smells something and spots cages full of the corpses of people and beasts alike. Schwartz sees someone alive in the cage, which turns out to be Drudge. Drudge asks to set aside their differences for now, as they now have a common enemy, Levi. He also recognizes the skills of Schwartz, saying that he recognized her work and that RI hired her for dirty work. Ash tells Schwartz to open the cage, which he apprehensively does. Ash grabs Drudge and punches him 7 times as revenge for Miro. Blitz tells Ash off for being so brutal, but they continue on further into the mine anyways. They eventually arrive at a lab, with Levi revealing himself to them once again. In the giant experimental area, a light is turned on, showing Levi standing behind a thick glass wall and in front of a large cultivator. Levi smiles unnaturally, with the cultivator lighting up to reveal a crystal sphere wrapped in connecting tissue. Floating. Levi says they're right on time and is protected from Ash's shots by the bulletproof glass. Levi begins monologuing about how he has a show to put on and that the world they're now in, Terra, has completely different science compared to Earth's. Originium, he believes, is the truth of Terra. Human nature is weak, good and evil are subjective definitions of weakness. Primitive thinking is a common form of ignorance. As thanks for listening to his speech, Levi gives praise to his new life form, the essence of evolution, which breaks free and pierces its red spines through Levi's skull, pressing, reforming, and fusing it together. The three prepare to fight and use their bombs. The team plants a bomb on the monster. It's still writhing and moving as they run away from the bomb. Back with the others, Rangers and Tachanka are still fighting the Originiums. Tachanka rushes to Ranger's side, builds a makeshift shield after seeing him get injured. The two say their piece before seeing the mutants get killed. Arrows fall from the sky in front of the manor, killing many of the mutants. Storm Eye and other RI ops appear, having picked up the distress signal. Rangers fills them in on the situation, and the team gets ready to head into the Lord's Manor to fight the rest of the mutants. Half a month later, Collab thanks the R6 team for what they've done for her and the town of Long Spring. She'd offer a reward for helping against her brother, but what she does have is needed for rebuilding Long Spring. The best she can offer is anything from her home. All the R6 team takes is Collab's father's old helmet and some nail tips for Blitz's shield, and leaves. They regroup with the RI squad and head back to Rhodes Island, with Ash asking for identities that allow them to go around Terra and a place to rest. Back at Rhodes Island, the Rainbow Ops register with human resources, and are allowed to stay and resupply at RI field offices or safe houses across Terra, though they're not official employees of RI. Afterwards, the four set off from Rhodes Island to take a look at the world, with their first stop being Siesta. They head off to travel around the alien yet familiar world of Terra. Unlike how I usually do things in the character section, going from lowest to highest rarity, this time I'm going in alphabetical order. I also won't be looking too closely at skins this time, as I can't be bothered to, and I won't be including voice lines, instead combining them with the archive file section. Ash, real name Eliza Cohen, is a 6-star marksman sniper who's only available during the limited Attack, Defense, Tactical Collide headhunting banner during the Operation Originium Dust Collab event. Though she works for the FBI, she was originally born in Israel. Ash has an unknown amount of combat experience, but it's realistically quite a lot, and was born to a Palestinian father and Israeli mother in Jerusalem. She stands at 170 centimeters tall, was born on the 24th of December in Jerusalem, and is of the Earthling race. In her archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Ash registered with Rhodes Island as a cooperative party following the Watchtower 33 incident. She serves as Team Rainbow's acting leader, is unmatched in combat and commanding, being particularly skilled at breaching an entry. She can demolish obstacles with remarkable precision to create cover or openings. Ash and her team are skilled, so much so that even Rhodes Island can learn from them. But Team Rainbow is only temporarily working with Rhodes Island, so it's not wise to ask for their help too much. Ash likes to keep to herself, with it being difficult to remove her from her own dealings. She's also cautious and not open to developing new relationships, as well as being harsh in managing her ops. Some say she's too harsh, but that's because Ash is concerned with bringing everyone home alive. Ash knows a lot when it comes to architecture, pointing out several structural weaknesses of the Rhodes Island landship's construction when she first arrived. After finding them, she and other ops went to rectify and repair the defects. What's more important about this knowledge is how she's able to apply it in a high-intensity situation, with her plans carrying minimal risk, and the most dangerous task going to herself. Ash has become more cautious since the incident with the metal crabs, seeing people throw javelins over 50 meters and other events on Terra. And she now understands that any mistake can put her and her team in peril. Because of this, she's made improvements to her command style, as well as relying on her teammates, as she can't make all the decisions by herself. Now that her main rifle has failed, Ash has completely switched over to using her grenade launcher as her primary weapon. Others have taken apart Tachanka's weapon for analysis and put something new together, with it being a lot easier than buying something new. There wasn't a lot that needed to be done to Ash's weapon, just make it use Originium rounds, or so the person writing this thought, as Ash is particular about her ammo. Ash wants rounds to stick into, then bore into the surface of a wall. With her help, they were able to create prototypes of the round she wanted, but the person writing believes they're too complex to use as regular ammo, so they still made her weapon compatible with Originium rounds. In her voice lines, voiced by Patricia Somerset, who also voices Princess Zelda in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I honestly had no idea because, well, you know, American accent, British Zelda, Ash often talks about strategy and conflict. Ash is confirmed to be non-infected. She has a cell Originium assimilation of 0% and an undisclosed blood Originium crystal density. The relevant data will not be disclosed due to the medical department's agreement with Team Rainbow. I will also be omitting future infection statuses because they're all practically the same. They all have 0% cell Originium assimilation and undisclosed blood Originium crystal density. They all say the same thing, no real need for me to repeat myself 4 times. In her character art, drawn by M9 Nokuro and directed by Ubisoft, Ash wears a long, black sleeve shirt with some rag patches on the upper left arm, underneath a black tactical armored vest with many pouches and a collar, sunglasses that you can partially see her left eye through, a black ball cap with the R6S logo on front, black fingerless gloves, pouches, and straps on her upper thighs, black pants, knee pads, and dark brown lace-up leather boots. She holds her M320 grenade launcher with extended barrel stock and sights with her right hand, while her R4C carbine hangs by her right side by a strap. Of note is that in gameplay she uses her sidearm, I believe an M1911 pistol, to fire as her primary attack. At E2 with everything maxed, Ash has 1,888 HP, 691 attack, 169 defense, 0 resistance, a 66-second redeploy time, 12 DP cost, and a 1-second attack speed. She has the standard range of a marksman sniper. At max trust, she gets plus 90 to attack. At max pot, she gets minus 2 DP, minus 4 seconds to redeploy, plus 27 attack, and a buff to her second talent. Her first talent, which is unlocked at E1 and upgraded at E2, Auxiliary Equipment, after Ashe is deployed, she immediately throws a stun grenade at an enemy within range, stunning them for 4 seconds. Her second talent, which is unlocked at E2 and upgraded at Pot 4, Breaching Specialist, during her first deployment, Ashe's DP cost is 9, and she gains 20 SP after deployment. Ashe has 2 base skills, with one being unlocked at E2. Her first base skill, Team Rainbow. Each op from Team Rainbow increases the morale of all ops in the control center by plus 0.05 per hour. I will also not be fully going over this base skill every time because each of the Rainbow Six operators have this as their first base skill. So I will just be purely mentioning it as their first base skill and then moving on to their second in the future. Her second base skill, Intelligence Reserve, when Ashe is in the control center, for each Team Rainbow member, Intel Reserve +1. Ashe's first skill, Supporting Fire, gains SP over time and is auto-triggered, having an infinite duration at all levels. At level 7 and M3 it starts with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 49 SP to proc, and M3 needing 45. At level 7, Ashe gets plus 11% attack, and attacks hit twice in a row. At M3, it's plus 15% attack. Her second skill, Assault Tactics, gains SP over time and is manually triggered, and toggleable. At level 7 and M3, it starts with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 29 SP to proc and M3 needing 25. All levels grant 31 bullets, and the skill ends when they run out or the skill is deactivated. At level 7, her first talent, the Flashbang, is triggered. Attack interval is significantly reduced, and attack is increased to 210% when attacking stunned targets. At M3, it's 250% attack. Her third round, Breaching Rounds, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. At level 7 and M3, it starts with 0 SP and all levels needing 25 SP to proc. The range of this skill is the 4 tiles directly in front of Ashe. At level 7, Ashe fires a Breaching Round forwards, dealing 260% attack to enemies in the line of fire, pushing them back significantly. The Breaching Round will explode and deals 370% attack to nearby enemies. If the Breaching Round hits a high ground tile from a low ground tile, it will immediately explode and deal 720% damage. This skill can only be used twice per deployment. At M3, it's 300% attack to enemies in the line of fire, 400% attack when the round explodes, and 800% attack if it hits a high ground tile from a low tile. Ashe has an MAR-Y module called Tactical Breaching Round Pack, making it so that she gains plus 8 attack speed when there are ground enemies within range. At module level 3, Tactical Breaching Round Pack buffs Breaching Specialist, making her DP cost on the first deployment be 7, as well as giving her 17 SP. It also gives her plus 200 max HP and plus 40 attack. To unlock and max out her module, you must have Ashe at E2 level 60, have 100% trust with her, defeat a total of 10 elite enemies with Ashe, 3-star 1-12 having Ashe defeat W, have 12 module data blocks, 60 data patching strips, 20 data patching devices, 2 polymerization preparations, 3 D32 steels, 4 crystalline electronic units, and 300,000 LMD. Ashe, to me at least, is kind of like a side grade to Excusii, as at a base level, both have roughly equal stats and have a lot of DPS. The side grade comes into play with the talents and the skills. Exu's talents, Rapid Magazine and Angel's Blessing, focuses on increasing her own stats, with her skills being some form of buff to the amount of hits she does in damage. Ashe, on the other hand, is there to stun and be deployed / activate her skill quickly, with her talents, kind of like a hot drop sniper, with her skills either buffing herself, greatly increasing her attack speed, or dealing a large amount of damage to the enemies in front of her. Realistically, both can be used in some of the same use cases, but there are times where one is stronger than the other, such as Ashe being able to stun or do large amounts of damage, while Exu can hit multiple times per attack very quickly and does a lot of damage to aerial units. As for downsides, the major one is that she's a collab op and can't be obtained anymore unless you rolled for her back in 2021. Her talents are nice, but they really only take much of an effect during deployment, or for her second talent, her first deployment. Her first skill is meh, the damage buff is okay, I guess, and sure, it hits twice in its unlimited duration. It's okay, I guess. Her second skill burns through ammo like no tomorrow, but it does have good DPS. And her third skill can only be used twice per deployment, much like some of the other R6 operators or Sasuro. Overall, Ashe is pretty good and worth building after Exu in my opinion. Blitz, real name Elias Kotz, is a 5-star Sentinel Protector Defender, who's only available during the limited Attack, Defense, Tactical Collide Headhunting banner during the Operation Originium Dust Collab event. Blitz has an unknown amount of combat experience, but realistically it's quite a lot, and uses a special tactical shield that can blind enemies as he shoots them with his P12 pistol. He stands at 175 centimeters tall, was born on the 2nd of April in Bremen, and is of the Earthling race. In his archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Blitz and the rest of Team Rainbow's past aren't pried too deeply into due to having inadequate records. From a combat perspective, Blitz is best at close-range altercations and firefights, with his scores being very good in street and indoor simulations. Based on this, it's believed that Blitz was skilled in indoor combat before arriving at Rhodes Island. He's also skilled at getting the nuances of language, allowing him to fully communicate with others shortly after coming to Rhodes Island. Blitz is often described as a jovial person, often laughing, being quick-witted, and having the ability to take the edge off a mood by cracking a joke, with other ops calling him goofy, which is indicative of his optimistic nature. During combat, however, he's vigorous and unparalyzed by fear. Blitz and Liskarm often talk to each other due to similarities between armaments, though his tactical light shield can't be restored to its former glory. The only thing of note that has changed about Blitz during his time at Rhodes Island is the adoption of the liaison role. Due to his linguistic abilities, he's already grasped 3 to 4 of Terra's most common languages, with Lothian being his most well-versed. Blitz describes Lothian as familiar, but it has different rules when it comes to grammar, characters, and spelling. He was eager to see what Lothian was like before being shown a picture of the country and calling it a city plucked out of the Middle Ages. Blitz is aware that his combat style puts himself at an even greater risk than where he's from, due to the foes he now faces. Even if his shield were stronger, the moment may turn the tides and his teammates may be killed. After the Watchtower 33 incident, he began learning the combat techniques of Terra as a way of developing a countermeasure. The engineering department has repaired and refitted Blitz's G52 tactical light shield, with upgrades and improvements being made to its materials and flask installation. After choosing a material for the shield to be made out of, the engineering department got to work. As for the flash installation, since Blitz can't use any arts, they converted stun grenades into ammo, and mounted that on the shield's fittings. A high-power Originium spotlight was fitted as well. In his voice lines, voiced by Christopher J. Doming, Blitz has a very happy attitude and likes to make jokes. In his character art, drawn by Leduc and directed by Ubisoft, Blitz wears a light gray shirt underneath body armor and a large black tactical vest, which has a neck cushion, multiple pouches and straps, and pauldrons, large black gloves, a blue patch on his left shoulder, jeans, a pistol holster which holds his P12 pistol on his right thigh, an AM-95 helmet with the ballistic visor up, and dark gray running shoes. He holds the top of his G52 tactical light shield with his right hand, and the shield itself having ballistic glass near the top, the light array underneath, and the Rainbow Six logo underneath that. At E2 with everything maxed, Blitz has 3,213 HP, 515 attack, 721 defense, 0 resistance, a 66-second redeploy time, 20 DP cost, 3 block, and has a 1.2 second attack speed. He has the standard range of a Sentinel Protector Defender, that being the 2 tiles in front of him. At max trust, he gets plus 45 to attack and defense. At max pot, he gets minus 2 DP cost, minus 4 seconds to redeploy, plus 25 attack, and a buff to his first talent. His first talent, which is unlocked at E1 and upgraded at E2 and pot 4, Shielded Shooting, has Blitz prioritize shooting stunned enemies, with his attack being increased to 165% when attacking stunned enemies, meaning he works well with both Ash and Frost. His second talent, Bunker Defense, which is unlocked at E2, when Blitz is deployed with a high ground tile either beside or behind him, Blitz gains a 25% physical resist. Blitz has 2 base skills, with one being unlocked at E2. His first base skill is Team Rainbow, which all of the Team Rainbow operators share. His second base skill, Linguistics, when assigned to an HR office, HR contacting speed plus 20. And every 1 point of Intelligence Reserve or Ursa's Special Beverage adds plus 5% contacting speed. Blitz's first skill, Flash Shield, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. It can only be used 4 times every deployment at all levels. At level 7 it starts with 10 SP and needs 18 to proc, while at M3 it starts with 15 and needs 15. At level 7, Blitz stuns all enemies ahead in the 2x3 grid and disables their special abilities for 3.5 seconds. At M3, it's stun and silence for 4.5 seconds. His second skill, Shield Bash, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. At level 7, it starts with 15 SP and needs 40 to proc, while at M3, it starts with 20 and needs 35. At level 7, Blitz attacks all blocked enemies at once, so 3, dealing 170% attack and stunning for 6 seconds. He gets plus 200 attack speed, and Talent 1 is multiplied by 1.5 times. This lasts for 6 seconds. At M3, it's 200% attack, stunning, and the other effects lasting for 7 seconds. Much like Ash, Blitz is kinda side grade to Liskarm. Again, both have similar stats, but are unique in their own niches. Liskarm focuses on recovering SP, having arch resist, buffing herself, and dealing arch damage, while Blitz is mainly focusing on stunning and dealing a lot of damage to stunned enemies, which allows him to work pretty well with other ops that stun, like Ash and Frost. Both have use cases, with Liskarm, at least in my opinion, having a more general use with her S1, while Blitz could be more on crowd control with his S1. Benefit both have is being able to attack drones, which I always found interesting. As for downsides, Blitz is limited up, and his S1, as good as it is, with being able to stun all enemies in the 6 tiles ahead of him, can only be used 4 times per deployment, which is a theme you'll see with some of these Rainbow Six ops. His first talent only applies when enemies are stunned, so it'd be probably a good idea to pair him with, as I mentioned before, Ash, Frost, or even W, with her S2 or S3, and his second talent needs him to be near a high ground tile. His S2 is pretty good until he realizes that it only stuns the 3 enemies he's blocking, though the attack speed buff is nice. Overall, if you have Liskarm, I recommend building her first if you haven't built any other defenders, which is weird, instead of Blitz, since she has much more use than him, though Blitz overall isn't terrible, just has particular niches. Frost, real name Tina Lin Song, is a 5-star Trapmaster specialist who's only available during the limited Attack Defense Tactical Collide headhunting banner during the Operation Originium Dust Collab event. Frost has an unknown amount of combat experience, but it's realistically quite a lot, and uses her welcome mat bear traps to trap enemies before shooting them with either her M3 Super 90 or Browning High Power. She stands at 172 centimeters tall, was born on the 4th of May in Vancouver, and is of the Earthling race. In her archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Frost has extremely comprehensive combat experience, so much so that it's completely surpassed the average Rhodes Island op in various fields, including teamwork. Frost, according to a report submitted to the HR department, has participated in multiple outdoor rescue missions and has experience in wilderness survival. Frost is quite the experienced hunter, though she is more than that. While staying at Rhodes Island, Frost spent most of her time in one of the workshops, producing both hunting equipment and 7 models of hunting traps. She can talk about hunting for hours on end, and is often seen exchanging hunting info and experiences with ops from Sammy and Casimir's. Even without arts, Frost shows great potential with stealth, tracking, and hunting. With her extensive use of traps, which combined with her combat style is very suited to Terra's ways, and her ability to survive even when lacking supplies, Frost would be able to survive almost anywhere on Terra. She has also been doing a detailed study on Rhodes Island's Wilderness Survival Guide, though she may not find much use out of it. Her fourth archive file is a classified log about all of the Team Rainbow members in general. The log explains that they're more strange than most think, with many being unaware that their environment is vastly different from Terra's. Though they're armed personnel, they all have a higher education, with Blitz and Ash being able to converse in multiple languages. None of them are infected, and it's difficult to imagine where they're actually from. While at Rhodes Island, Frost produced a large amount of large hunting traps, snares, and even hunting knives. She also applied for some Originium explosives, and Rhodes Island believes that she'll be able to properly use these resources. In her voice lines, voiced by Julie Tomiko Manning, Frost enjoys hunting and being tidy. In her character art, drawn by Kuma Tangent and directed by Ubisoft, Frost wears a white and black winter jacket with a high brim collar that is fur trimmed, a black beanie with a clip on it, a black muffler around her neck, which is usually up around her face, black gloves, a black chest rig with multiple different pouches, a black belt with pouches and grenades, white pants, knee pads, black boots, a leg holster for her Browning high-power pistol, and she holds a knife with her left hand in a reverse grip, and her Super 90 shotgun with her right hand behind her legs. At E2 with everything maxed, Frost has 1,559 HP, 639 attack, 182 defense, 0 resistance, a 66 second redeploy time, 11 DP cost, and has a 0.85 second attack speed. She has the standard range of a Trap Master Specialist. At max trust, she gets plus 200 HP and plus 40 attack. At max pot, she gets minus 2 DP cost, minus 4 seconds to redeploy, plus 23 attack, and a buff to her talent. Her talent, Welcome Mat, at E2 pot 4 allows Frost to deploy up to 10 Welcome Mats and can store up to 10. The first enemy that steps on a Welcome Mat will trigger this effect. Frost has 2 base skills, with one being unlocked at E2. Her first base skill is the Team Rainbow base skill that every Rainbow operator has. Her second base skill, Mechanical Engineering, when Frost is assigned to the workshop and processes any material, the byproduct rate increases by 50%. For every 1 Intel Reserve, plus 5% byproduct rate, and for 4 Ursa's Specialty Beverage, plus 15% byproduct rate. Frost's first skill, Trap Deployment, gains SP over time and is auto-triggered. All levels start with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 16 to proc and M3 needing 12. At level 7, passively, when a Welcome Mat is triggered, it deals 280% attack and stuns that target for 1 second. Actively, Frost gets plus 1 Welcome Mat. At M3, it's 350% attack and stuns for 1.5 seconds. Her second skill, Incapacitated Prey, gains SP over time and is manually triggered. All levels start with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 16 to proc and M3 needing 12. At level 7, passively, when a Welcome Mat is triggered, it deals 160% attack and binds the target for 1.5 seconds. If the target is within Frost range, she immediately attacks them 3 times, dealing 150% attack as physical damage. Actively, she gets plus 1 Welcome Mat. At M3, it deals 200% attack when triggered, and she attacks them 3 times for 180% damage if they're in her range. Frost has a TRP-Y module called Mechanical Trap Pressure Plate, making it so that she has a 20% chance to deploy a trap that deals double damage. At module level 3, Mechanical Trap Pressure Plate buffs Welcome Mat, making it so that Frost can deploy up to 10 to 12 Welcome Mats. Frost and Welcome Mats also ignore 120 defense. It also gives her plus 47 attack and plus 25 defense. To unlock and max out her module, you must have Frost at E2 level 50, have 100% trust with her, deal a total 100,000 damage with Frost, 3-star 4-4 having Frost defeat Crown Slayer, have 6 module data blocks, 20 data patching strips, 8 data patching devices, 3 cutting fluid solutions, 4 sugar lumps, 5 Auroron blocks, and 150,000 LMD. Frost, much like the next operator, isn't all that similar to the other Trapmaster specialists of Dorothy and Robin. Rather than focusing on binding and pushing, She more so focuses on stunning and killing enemies who step into her welcome mats. Since they stun, both Frost and Blitz would work well together. That is, if Blitz also targets enemies that aren't stunned by him and gets the buff against attacking other stunned enemies, with both him and Frost being able to team up against enemies affected by Frost's S2. Having both her skills be auto instead of manual is always nice, since she has the same range and is technically a ranged op. And traps, as always, are very effective for stalling or slowing down enemies. The ignoring defense from her module is also nice. Getting the limited op problem out of the way, she also suffers from the drawbacks that the other Trap Master specialists have. The stun duration from the welcome mat is pitifully short, she can't deploy welcome mats where enemies are currently, and planning where you want welcome mats requires a fair bit of micromanagement. There's also the fact that her S2 really only is effective if enemies are in her range, which is the standard range of a marksman sniper. As if the enemies aren't, the damage isn't as high as her S1, and her module effect is a 1 in 5 chance to deal double damage, which won't be all that much later on. Overall, Frost, like the other Trap Master subclass in general, is quite niche, so she isn't very high priority to build. If you want to stun and delay enemies, there's better choices out there, but Frost isn't a completely bad choice, just outclassed by others who can stun and delay enemies better. Tachanka, real name Alexander Seneviv, is a 5-star Swordmaster Guard, who's only available as a welfare operator from completing the different stages during the Operation Originium Dust Collab event. Tachanka has an unknown amount of combat experience, but realistically it's quite a lot, and he uses both the DP-27 machine gun and Shumika grenade launcher, which is a modified Mosin Nagant. He stands at 183 centimeters tall, was born on the 3rd of November in Leningrad, and is of the Earthling race. In his archive files and promotion record, it's noted that Tachanka shows off very professional combat and tactical abilities, excelling positions and defensive combat. HR believes that he served in a regular army for many years and may have participated in large group ops many times. He's also skilled in mechanics. Tachanka is a very approachable person, being humorous and candid. Though he can be overbearing, he bears no ill will. While talking to the medical department, he brought up his little sister who's training to be a doctor. Tachanka especially gets along with Rangers and members of Black Steel, and even recording his personnel file was full of jokes. Team Rainbow didn't stay long at Rhodes Island before leaving, as they apparently had business to attend to. During his stay, Tachanka often talked with Ursian Ops, showing a great interest in Ursus as a whole. One day, however, after spending a long time talking to Ursus Ops, he spent most of the morning on deck, being completely silent. The Ops he was talking to explained the situation. When the Chernobog incident was mentioned, his expression became serious, then angry, and he stopped talking afterwards. It's advised not to talk about the Chernobog incident while he's around. His 4th archive file is a classified log. It says all relevant records of the Watchtower 33 incident have been handed over to the higher-ups. Cal has no issues, but did repeatedly ask about the mutants in the reports. Cal recommended sealing most of Rainbow's psyche evals, saying that it would only be a waste to study everything the medical department doesn't know. His promotion record is also a classified log. All records of Tachanka's weapon modifications are strictly confidential to everyone, especially the Sancta. Closure and another op studied his gun, but it's not like anything they've seen before. Tachanka described to them how the ammo works, with all attempts to restore weapons and the ammo described by Tachanka resulting in a loss of all lethality at over 10 meters. Though his weapon is lethal out to 700 meters. However, Closure did find that mixing ground Originium powder with raw industrial ketones and drying it was able to yield ammo with a range of 200 meters. The only problem with the gun made to shoot these bullets is that it's so cumbersome and is less powerful than a semi-auto ballista. In his voice lines, voiced by Vlado Stonk-Onik, who isn't the usual voice actor of Tachanka, that being Anatoly Zanayev, Tachanka is proud of his country and wants his kids to live in a safe country and world. In his character art, drawn by Senmo and directed by Ubisoft, Tachanka wears an olive green and digital camo jacket underneath green body armor, green straps, and a green body harness with multiple different pouches, a radio on his shoulder, black fingerless gloves, olive green and green digital camo pants with pouches, black lace-up boots, and a Masca 1SCH helmet with face shield. He holds his DP-27 with both of his hands, his right hand on the stock with finger off the trigger, and the left holding on to a taped-on foregrip. At E2 with everything maxed, Tachanka has 2,626 HP, 716 attack, 464 defense, 0 resistance, a 90-second redeploy time, which is about on par with robots if you don't have his pot maxed, 21 DP cost, 2 block, and a 1.3 second attack speed. His range is the 3 tiles directly in front of him due to his talent. At max trust, he gets plus 48 to attack and defense. At max pot, he gets minus 3 to DP cost, minus 10 seconds to redeploy, and a buff to his talent. His talent, Heavy Firepower, gives Tachanka plus 2 tiles, plus 15% defense, but plus 20 seconds to redeployment time. That's plus 20 seconds to his base 80-second redeploy time. Tachanka has 2 base skills, with one being unlocked at E2. His first base skill is the Team Rainbow base skill that all Team Rainbow members have. His second base skill, Ursa's Specialty Beverage, when assigned to the Control Center for each Ursus Student Self-Governing Group Operator, plus 1 Ursus Specialty Beverage. Tachanka's first skill, Incendiary Grenade, gains SP by attacking and is manually triggered. All levels start with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 19 to proc and M3 needing 15. At level 7, he fires an Incendiary Grenade at a target, creating a burning zone in the 4 tiles around the target that lasts 6 seconds. The burning zone deals 40% arts damage every second to enemies within. Tachanka ignores 160 defense when attacking enemies in the zone. At M3, the burning zone deals 70% arts damage and ignores 200 defense. His second skill, Spray and Pray, gains SP by attacking and is manually triggered, lasting for 4 seconds at all levels. All levels start with 0 SP, with level 7 needing 29 to proc, while M3 needs 25. At level 7, his attack interval is reduced significantly. Tachanka attacks random targets within his range, with every attack having an 11% chance to increase his attack to 170%. At M3, it's a 15% chance to increase attack to 200%. Tachanka has the SWO-X module, called Machine Gun Rack, making it so that he deals 10% more damage with skills. At module level 3, Machine Gun Rack buffs Heavy Firepower, making it so that he gets plus 23% defense, as well as plus 55 attack and defense. To unlock and max out his module, you must have Tachanka at E2 level 50, have 100% trust with him, deal a total 150,000 damage with him, 3-star S2-3 only having Defender Ops as the remaining units, have 6 module data blocks, 20 data patching strips, 8 data patching devices, 3 crystalline circuits, 4 ore rock concentrations, 5 manganese trihydrates, and 150,000 LMD. Now, I'm sure some of you have seen the videos out there on the internet of Tachanka essentially mowing down either enemies or bosses with his S2. Though he's not soloing them, as some of the videos claim, as he's either being buffed by the likes of Sculptor and or Warfarin, or the enemies themselves are being debuffed, his ability to do a large amount of burst damage with his S2 is always nice in the way of crowd controlling a wave of enemies, and the same goes for his S1, which is able to have an AoE arts effect for a couple seconds. His talent giving him extra range and his gun allowing him to attack aerial enemies, I believe, is also nice. He's unique enough that he holds his own niche against other Swordmaster guards in my opinion. But, and this is ignoring the limited availability of Tachanka, he does have a few issues, with one of the big ones being his talent. Though his talent does give the extra 2 tiles of range and extra defense, his already high redeploy time of 80 seconds is increased to 100, or 90 if you have him at pot 3 or whatever. His S1's AoE effect doesn't last that long and only affects enemies in the area. His S2 vomits damage, yes, but it's for 4 seconds and targets enemies randomly, while having a pitifully low chance at having the damage raised at less than 1 in 5. There's also the fact that his module is just plain bad, barely giving him any benefits. Overall, Tachanka's fine to raise, but you really need to be aware of the drawbacks that come with him. And I sure hope you don't have him die, because he probably won't be back until you finish the stage. Overall, Operation Originium Dust is kind of a mixed bag in my opinion. The stages were alright for the most part, which we'll get to in a sec. The ops were decent to okay, the story was quite well written, I'll give them that, and has nice character dynamics between Rhodes Island, Citizens of Long Spring, Team Rainbow, and the bad guys. Dredge and Levi actually have motivations instead of being evil for evil's sake. And integrating Team Rainbow, not being familiar with the world of Terra, and being puzzled by its technology, language, and customs was quite interesting to see. But I really have some problems with it. Sure, the sandstorm stage effect can be easily negated by hiding behind cover, and you can reasonably finish a stage before the barriers are destroyed. The drones, if you're smart about it, can easily be dealt with as well, just either killing them, using a fast redeploy to bait, or killing the operators before there are problems for the rest of the operators. But good lord, did they ever drop the ball with the Essence of Evolution boss? It spawns enemies endlessly, one of which can slow the attack speed of ground ops, making it harder to kill them, releases a shock wave which is annoying to deal with, has 3 stages, with each one being more of a pain in the ass than the last, and the bombs given in the stage practically do bupkis about it. It's essentially a timed boss fight as well, as it gets more powerful over time with the different stages. The Rainbow Six ops you can get from the event already have better or equivalent ops that already exist, with their niches being tiny or meh. Not to mention that half have limited deployment skills, making them even more niche. Their modules are meh as well. I also wasn't a fan of how Team Rainbow just kinda walks off to explore Terra after they go to Rhodes Island for a day or two. Not to mention them being from Earth and not Terra is barely expanded upon, mostly goes back to where it began. Just, haha, it's weird, we'll leave it be for now, or we'll keep it secret. Base skills outside of the Team Rainbow one are meh to no one cares, with the Team Rainbow one being useful as it essentially turns the control center into a 5th dorm. It's not a bad attempt for Arknights' first collab event, but there are a good few areas where they could have done much, much better. The skins are alright, with Tachanka being a haha we're Tachanka joke, Ash being a kimono Mimi, Schwartz wearing a hat and sitting on a pole, and Liskarm, by far the best of these 4, standing atop a crowd with a shield held higher. So, my final verdict on the Operation Originium Dust collaboration event is B for operators, C- for modules, A for story, and B- for skins. Again, there's just so much they could have done better, so it's disappointing in a good few aspects. Thank you for watching. Please follow my Twitter for updates. I also stream and are currently streaming Metal Gear Solid 3, and please check out my other Arknights and Azure Lane videos as well. There will be a teaser out on Sunday for next week's story summaries.